This is who we are as a community. Like, we are not isolated from the bullshit. We love to look at leftists and radical types and say, you guys are all drinking the Kool-Aid, but not me. I don't drink the Kool-Aid. Well, here's proof positive, two separate examples that we do. Team, I'm going to double down on a few things, and I'm going to go all in, if you will. I'm going to give you two examples of why we are not ready to make it, why you, and it's probably really not you, but the much larger you is not going to make it through a significant poop hitting the rotating oscillator event, right? Does that make sense? So let's dive into this. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts and your comments down below as we all continue to master our craft and develop our tactical virtue. Full transparency here. Let's do it. This first piece we're going to look at is one of two. The second one is extremely personal. We're going to dive in and look at probably the single video that probably broke my channel, right? It certainly had the most negative impact, received the most negative reaction and responses of all last year. Completely. We're going to dive into this, right? So let's do it. But this first one, I saw a clip on Instagram. A dude had shared. Let's watch the clip and then we'll discuss.
What else the government did this past weekend? Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, just passed a bill. The House of Representatives just passed a bill that gives the soldiers of the IDF, that's the Israeli Defense Force, you now have Israeli Defense Force foreign military receiving United States military benefits. This is true. Wow, what he just said, what Joey just said, people here can't even afford health insurance, and now they're giving it to a foreign country, which in my opinion is a...
And of course he goes on there and berates whatever and shares his personal thoughts or opinions about Israel. As I'm told, just with transparency, this was originally shared on Instagram under the Hunter's Moon channel. It's private, so I can't verify. I don't know anything about it. I'm not a member of them. But here's the claim, right? That the Speaker of the House, right? The House of Representatives just passed a bill. And this is why we're not going to make it, right? Because we hear something and we take it because I may lean in a particular direction, right? I'm a fairly conservative guy. And a lot of us are that are into self-reliance, preparedness, survival, dude shit, whatever, right? And so if I'm already geared towards a particular orientation and somebody is also apparently oriented in the same direction and they say something, I am much more likely to believe them simply because they said it. Simply because it may align with something else that I may or may not agree with, right? This is what we do. We don't take 2 seconds to analyze anything. We hear something, it tickles our ear, and we go for it. So here's the House of Representatives just passed a bill that's going to give Israeli IDF guys full benefits, right? So let's look at H.R. 8445. So we see here, right, this is all public record, right? Congress.gov. I can see who sponsored it, and it's not the Speaker of the House. It's some dude from Pennsylvania, and it has been in subcommittees. Let's see what the actions are on this thing. Has it actually even been passed? Let's look. So back in January, February, March, April, May, I'm slow. It was introduced to the House and then referred to two separate subcommittees, right? Not passed, referred to subcommittees, which is probably where it's going to die. But what does the bill actually say anyways? I can look at the text, right? In the House of Representatives on May 17th, 2024, a bill eligibility of United States citizens serving in the IDF for benefits under USERA and the SCRA, right? What are these two things? Well, the first one is veterans' employment and reemployment rights, right? So if you're National Guard and you go off and you deploy, when you come back, you got to be able to get your job. And our other one, Civil Service Relief Act, basically says that once you become a service member, especially once you deploy, there are certain things that pause, right? Like interest rate aren't going to increase and other things like this. So it is not, and I'm not saying that I agree with what this bill says or what it's trying to do. But what I'm telling you is that it does not say what they say that it says. And it takes all of 2 seconds to look it up on the internet through official sources, source documentation, man. We have to be better about this. Just because somebody screams and yells and says, or even, has a nice, beautiful backdrop, not that mine is, right? But just because somebody says something doesn't make it true. And that's regardless of whether it's coming out of my mouth or somebody else's mouth out there on the internet. No matter how high speed and low drag they may be, no matter how eloquent that they might be, no matter their education or their degrees, simply because somebody says something does not mean that it is not biased. And we need to try to do everything that we can to cut through that for ourselves, to determine what is factual and what is not. And so here we go. Number 2. I'm going to read you the description of this video, right? This is what was in the description of the video. If anybody had taken 2 seconds to read it. Would you perform open heart surgery? Why not? You might be good at first aid, but this is something different. You have minimal or non-existent formal training and lack experience beyond elementary competencies. People look at videos like this, the one that I did a review on, as a documentary of what to do. And while it may be for them, the professionals, it is probably not for us. Some key things that we should take away from this video. Do use speed, surprise, and violence of action. This is a great demo of that to a degree. Literally 99.999% of the population isn't ready for. But do not cross open danger areas. Do not get stuck in the fatal funnel of fire. And do not restrict your OPT4. If you take anything else away from this video, that's probably my fault. You're bad. If you only look to those with authority, I hope that you are consistent and wore a mask for at least 2 Thanksgivings and got 4 boosters, at least, right? So the video in question, of course, is the CQB instructor reacts to Delta Force CQB. I've left it up after all this time because it's already out there, right? It's a matter of public style. I'm not going to hide it. Went a little over the top, maybe. Did I probably say some things that the person who made or shared the original video took personal? Yes, right? But that's okay. So engage a conversation with him, not knowing what to expect. And, he got to share his piece on the finer details. But the things that remain true are just those 3 things, right? Don't cross open danger areas. Don't get stuck in a fatal funnel. And don't restrict your OPT4. And that's the most important thing that I could have shared here. But, the response to this video in the first about month was generally positive. It was not my best producing video, best received video, if you will. But it did okay. And we had some good conversations. And then we have a live stream. And all of a sudden, the dude's Swifties come out in force. And they come share their thoughts and their opinions. But what did they say? They said, stay in your lane. They said, there's never too late to time to delete this or whatever. We'll stay with some top comments here. Imagine critiquing a tier 1 dude, starting with this one time at CQB camp. And it goes on, all these types of comments, right? Dude, you're not high speed and low drag. This guy is. Therefore, whatever he says is gospel truth, right? So whatever Anthony Fauci says is gospel truth. I doubt anybody who shared a negative response would agree with. But why? Again, because we get stuck in this traffic of life that says, I want to be high speed, low drag. I want to go find an expert. In this case, Matt is an expert's wet dream when it comes to shooting and tactics. Not that he wants to talk about tactics, but we look to dudes like this and say, here is the archetype. Therefore, whatever the archetype says, does, is the truth. It's real. It's gold. We can bank on it. We can trust it. We can depend on it. And that's probably true for a lot of things. But as soon as we allow somebody to reshape and reorient ourselves and to put blinders on that don't allow us to use critical reason and thinking with what is received and with how we perceive. And look, man, we all get stuck in this. There have been plenty of moments in my life where I thought or felt a certain way. And, growing up, my dad would listen to Rush Limbaugh. So everything Rush Limbaugh said was gospel, right? He's a good dude. Good entertainment, good show. But not everything he says was right. There was a time when I looked at our nation differently. And then the Patriot Act happened. And that was kind of a, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice will be shame on me. And to be honest with you, that was probably the moment in my life when, and it's still, even that took a while to really sink in, right? And I began to see things and question things in new ways and to not just accept a status quo, not just accept an answer because an expert said so. Like if we use this line of thinking, then I don't ever want to hear anybody get excited about, and this line of thinking being, you're not an expert, Stoker, shut up and sit down. Then don't talk about politics, right? Because you're not a political scientist. Don't talk about science because you're not a scientist. Don't talk about football because you're not actively engaged in coaching or playing football. Thank God. Don't talk about anything unless it is your specific lane, right? We don't do this to ourselves. We share opinions about everything with our friends, our family. It's okay. And you know what? It's okay to be wrong. And I will accept a critical response. If somebody says, Stoker, you said something wrong, you did something wrong, here's why, here's how you can improve. Roger that. Thank you. I appreciate you speaking into my life and holding me accountable in a way that I can improve myself. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. It's quite funny. But team, this is all just, a few random thoughts from an insignificant dude who pulls no weight in anything and is okay with that. Because I'm much more interested in hearing and enlarging a conversation as we do continue to master our craft and develop our tactical virtue. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Are we going to make it? Because look, team, this is who we are as a community. Like, we are not isolated from the bullshit. We love to look at leftists and radical types and say, you guys are all drinking the Kool-Aid, but not me. I don't drink the Kool-Aid. Well, here's proof positive, 2 separate examples that we do. We need to stop doing this to ourselves. Stop poisoning our minds. Let me know what you think down below, team. I appreciate you guys. Until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.